Hello everyone, my name is Conrad. On behalf of CameraStuff, thank you for joining it another episode of In the Limelight, where we look into the South African photographic industry and we find some interesting people to talk to. So tonight we are joined by photographer Anna Smith, having a look at her portfolio. She's an incredibly talented photographer. She does mostly aerial dance photos as well, some pole fitness as well. So just to give you a bit of insight as to what she is capable of, let me just quickly show you a slideshow. So these are the images that Anna is capable of. So fantastic work done here all round. So if you're joining us, you're welcome to ask your questions, drop your comments, drop your compliments in the comment section, and we'll tackle them as we plod along. But in the meantime, as always, do introduce yourself, drop your name and location in the comment section, and I'll give you a bit of a shout out from our side. So I think without further ado, let's introduce our guest, shall we? Hello, Anna. How are you doing?
Hello, how are you, Conrad?
I'm doing fantastically well. What did you get up to today?
Today, well, I did a lot of editing, a full day of
Mm-hmm.
editing today. So, yeah, I'm quite tired of being in front of the computer, but at least this is a different being in front of the computer, having a conversation. So, yeah, but a full day of editing, a photographer's life.
Mm-hmm. That's not always the glitz and glamour. Sometimes you have to spend time editing and doing bookwork and marketing and what's not. So it's not always time spent on location with a camera in hand. But yeah, that is the photographer's life, as
Exactly.
you said. Do you have any friends or family watching? Do you have any
They're
people that you
supposed
know that
to be. I hope they
maybe,
are. Is
well, we'll
anyone watching?
see.
I hope is watching. Yeah, I hope they are. Probably they'll probably join later if they're not watching now, but yeah, hopefully soon.
All right, yeah. So if you're catching this late, as always, this will be on YouTube, so you can catch up later, or we start from the beginning if you so choose. But if you're watching right now, I see we are building a nice crowd as we speak. Do drop your name and your location in the comment section. And just like Andrew here, I'll give you a bit of a shout out. Hello, Andrew. Thank you for joining it again. Always fun joining the live.
Andrew,
Thank you for your participation. All right, so I think we could just get our interview going, shall we? So, as per normal, my first question is always, what initiated your spark as far as photography in general is concerned, and what led you into your current niche, which is dance photography and also pole fitness and the aerial stuff? So what got the ball rolling?
so that's a long question. The answer will be long, but I started delving in school. Actually a career out of it. You kind of just pick up a camera and start playing around. And then I had to go study. So then I was like, what can I do? So I thought, okay, I don't want to go the mathematical degree, do something creative. So I decided, okay, photography. I have a big background in photography when I started. But yeah, while I was studying, I was actually part of a pole fitness club. I did it for exercise
Mm-hmm.
purposes. And then, yeah, the instructor one day just asked me, okay, well, you're studying photography, so you should be able to do a photo shoot for us. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really know what I was doing at that stage, but I said, okay, cool, I'll do a shoot for you. And then, yeah, my first pole fitness shoot. And then from there, I just rolled into the history of aerial arts and pole fitness and dance photography. So that's where it started.
All right. It's always interesting how people get into photography almost by accident. Oh, you have a camera. Can you do this thing for me? And just
Yeah.
flourishes from that point on. So about 80 or 90% of people I've interviewed kind of had similar beginnings as well. So it's not like from the onset, I'm going to be a photographer. That's what I always wanted to be. It's always a case of combining what you're already interested in, having the camera already, and just making a perfect marriage out of the two. So hello Jay, how are you doing? Checking in, watching from Northern Cape. Thank you for joining,
Sure.
and
Northern
Lochis
Cape,
as
that's far
well.
from me.
And Lochis as well. Hello there. Also, a bunch of regulars in already. All right. So, what camera did you have starting out, and what do you have now? And also in terms of gear, generally speaking. Yeah. So, what was the camera
Hmm.
bag like versus now? And now, I'm sorry, versus then and now.
Yeah, so I am a Nikon shoot. I find that we are far and few in between. So I did start with what was my first Nikon? I think a D90. I don't know if they make that anymore, but it was just an entry-level camera. But I must say, because the triggers were quite out, kind of invest in good lenses. So I didn't really worry about my body at that stage, camera body. But then a few good lenses. So I got the 2070 7200 combo. And later I finally upgraded, which was a really big move, like in terms of realizing better entry level DSLR. So yeah, but I find that Nikon, that's what I'm saying, I'm the far and in between. I feel like a little bit behind on the times. I'm a little bit jealous of the Canon shooters sometimes, but I've stuck with Nikon all the way. So I'm currently on a D780, which is the bit of the unknown. It's the hybrid mirrorless DSLR combo. Yeah, so that's in terms of my camera body. And lighting wise, Chrome. I use most Chrome gear, which I also find difficult. I don't know why I decided to go the weird route of all the gear that's a bit, not as popular in our country. So Chrome is a bit difficult to get a hold of. It's expensive. I could invest in some Godox stuff. I will hopefully get there. But yeah, so I'm an Chrome.
Yeah, the elegance stuff, those stuff are built like tanks. They will outlast you.
Yeah.
Often referred to as the donkeys of the photographic world. They just keep on going, probably outlive you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
certainly made a bad choice. But in terms of light modifiers, what do you have in a kit? Like, do you have a go-to light modifier that you always use, or is it a variety of things depending on the situation that you end up using on a day?
So I do have a go-to setup. I love rim lighting. So I have two boxes with grids. So I just love, like, especially with the dance photography, I find it's quite important to highlight the body, if that makes sense. So that rim lighting really separates the dancer from the background. So that's kind of my go-to for. And from the front, I have an octo box usually for the softer lighting. I want the more flattering light dancer. But I must say, recently I've been playing it up a bit. I bought a big umbrella, which I've never used. Like, I never used any umbrella. Umbrellas, you kind of use that when you start. But I bought a proper large. I'm trying to think how it is. But anyways, I bought an umbrella, so I'm really enjoying using that. And then my most recent favorite thing is the optical spot, which I see you also use. That's a very fun thing to play around. It's a new one that I've gotten. So yeah, I'm enjoying playing around with it. I'm still, but I'll figure it out as it goes. Yeah.
Now, I just wanted to say about the Nikon brand, you said that you're far and few between. So don't worry about that. I'm a Pentax user, so it's even a lot worse than for me on my side. So I know what it's like. All right, so let's see what the comments are here. Martin saying hello from Ladysmith. Hello, Martin. Thank you for joining. And Andrew saying the Nikon 780 fun in between camera from DSLR and mirrorless system looks great for events as well.
It does, yeah.
All right, so
I haven't switched to mirrorless. I'm planning to do mirrorless, but not yet. It's not for people who are wondering.
Yeah, for myself personally as well, I'm still on the DSLR. Like, I understand the advantages of mirrorless, and I've played around with mirrorless as well, but for the time being, the FOMO is not big enough. Like, my camera here is still good enough. I'm probably not utilizing my camera to its full extent. So if I have any quote-unquote problems with photography, it's not the camera-related job. So I understand what you're saying about the mirrorless. So it's one day in the pipeline. Hopefully Pentax
one day.
sometime in the future as well.
I don't know about that, but we'll see.
We'll see, yeah. So they are strongly against it, but who knows? The times may change the tides for them. But yeah, any challenges that you encountered early on in your career, and how did you go about overcoming those challenges?
So specifically with the dance photography, right? Yeah.
Well, either which, but we can do dance photography for now.
Yeah. So I think a challenging thing, which is still a challenge at the moment, it's not like I overcame this challenge, but obviously I travel to the studios, the aerial rigging of the aerial hoop shot and the pole that we use here, and I have a 2 meter. I haven't ever seen anywhere else except for me. There's one like that. So I have to put that big backdrop in my Polo Vivo and then drive. I don't know. People always ask me, how do I manage that? But yeah, I put this backdrop, put all my gear in there and set up in the studio. So that's a bit of a challenge because it's a lot of gear to take on site, set, get prepped beforehand. Yeah, but I can't think of any other, like if you say early challenges, I think, yeah, that's kind of the main thing. I think specifically with the aerial industry, a challenge for me is it's a bit of a niche type of photography. So unfortunately, I can't do it full time because it's a smaller industry, makes sense. So it's kind of my part-time. I am a full-time photographer, but it's my part-time photography endeavor that I kind of do. So yeah, I would say those are 2 challenges, but not difficult challenges. Yeah.
All right, so people who have joined my lives by now should know that if you hear any weird noises like gargling, goblin noises, that's just the
I was
pug
wondering
walking
what
around.
that is.
That's just the dog walking around the table. So if you are hearing any noises, don't worry, your house is not haunted. That's just a little pug here walking around in circles. All right, so let's continue on, shall we? So pertaining to gear, it's interesting that you bring up all of the gear that you need to move around from location to location. It's one thing having all of the stuff to use, and what's it called, the gear acquisition syndrome. But finding practical uses out of it on a day-to-day basis is another challenge as well. So we have this appreciation for things that are easy to pack up, easy to fold away. But as far as everything else is concerned, we may do. You mentioned the big backdrop in the car as well. I've had those challenges as well with the big PVC backdrop. It sticks outside the car window, and you have to be careful not to joust pedestrians walking down the road.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly. And then when it starts raining, that's the worst because you have to. This is my mother.
Hello from Mama, who paid for the first camera. Shame. Thank you, Marina, for participating in Anna's wonderful and flourishing career. We thank you very much.
Now, I was saying with that big backdrop hanging out of the worst anxiety creating thing is when I see a rain cloud coming in the morning and I have a shoot up in different types of things. Yeah, but you always make a plan.
All right. So as far as trends are concerned, like, do you go about following trends, or would you consider yourself a bit of a trendsetter? So are you mindful of what's happening in the outside world, or do you kind of go with your own flow?
I think I used to go with it. So I stuck with what worked for a very long time. And I think it was not the best thing to do because I kind of used the same recipe, but I have changed since then. So I followed trends. So for example, this optical spot that we were talking about, I feel like that's a new trend that's come up in the past few years. I don't remember it from a while. So yeah, I thought, wow, imagine I can do that with the dance photography. It would work perfectly. So yeah, I think I started as not go with my own flow, but it's better to follow if it's something cool like Opspot. I mean, yeah, you can really push your photography to a different level. So yeah.
I understand what you mean. Yeah. So it's a tricky one to balance. Obviously, people or audiences, people who pay the bills, are obviously following the trends as well, and will approach us as photographers and say, hey, I want to do this thing. And it may be against what we normally do, but we try our best to accommodate everyone. But at the same time, fulfilling your own niche and establishing your own brand, your own style, that's also doubly important as well. But as I said, yeah, it's difficult, and it takes a while to find that 50-50 in our careers. So it's an overnight thing.
For sure.
So I've spoken to many photographers who start out with one thing and try to master it only to accidentally stumble into something else where they start flourishing in life. I think it's also about combining your passions and things that you enjoy, things that you like to talk about, things that are intuitive to you, that you combine into your photography that allows everything else just to fall into place. And from there, things just start excelling. So as you said, with you
Yeah,
starting out
sure.
with pole fitness as well, as an example, obviously being involved in it and just combining that with your photographic work.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like I said earlier, it's a niche market which can be seen as a challenge because I can't do it completely full time, but that can also be seen as because I can kind of be the trendsetter in the industry because no other people, well, not no other people, but I mean, local people haven't yet done these things with the pole fitness. Yeah, so I can be the trendsetter there. So you can also positive it being a niche,
Okay.
I would say.
Speaking of positives, what role do you believe dance photography plays on a larger scale? Now, so obviously with the work that you're putting out there, what is the message, broadly speaking, like the quote unquote message that you're trying to put out there? I know this is always a difficult one to answer, but sometimes
It's a
we have to
difficult.
be guided with, so the meaning and purpose behind your work, what is it in a nutshell that you want to put out there for the world to see?
So I really I love any art, music. So for me, just really enjoy the dance photography, being able to capture motion in still, if that makes sense.
Mm,
For me, on a larger scale, my own personal part of it is just to be able to do dance photography, which is exciting. But then on a larger general, and just talking about the pole fitness aerial industry, I would hope that by doing this photography, I do kind of get to promote our industry and make people know something like
mm,
this exists, because I don't think it's something that a lot of people know about in our country, if I can put it that way. I think a lot more people have come to know it about 10 years. So in the 10 years, there's definitely been a growth. But I think by photographing and talking about on platforms like this, people will get to know that there is something like pole fitness. We actually have a lot of athletes that compete internationally. So yeah, it's nice to create awareness about something like pole fitness and aerial arts. Yeah, I hope
Yeah,
that
so
answers the
jobs as
question.
photographer.
I answered that.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, it's our jobs as photographers is to play our small role. It's just to showcase not only human nature but human feats as well in terms of artistry and sharing that with the rest of the world as well. So we can't really dismiss our roles in that from that point of view. So you're doing fantastic work on that front.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
All right. So I think what we can do now is talk about your images. So I can just quickly
Okay,
pop
let's have
that
a look.
in. So people out there in Facebook land and YouTube land, if you have any questions to ask, please do drop them in the comment section and we'll tackle them as we go along. All right, so let's get your images up here. I'm just going to start from the first one. All right, so in this little section, we just give the platform to our guest and they get to talk about their photos. So who the model is, what gear they used, what inspired them to do the shot, etc. So everything that just combined on a day. So Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. One thing I forgot to mention about gear, I can't believe I didn't say anything, but is color gels. That's been a
Mm-hmm.
big thing in my work the past, like, let's say 2 to 3 years, because I do gels that always just did the plain, lighting. And once I introduced gels, it just opened up the avenue of just getting different type of shots. So that's the biggie gear wise. I absolutely love color gels. Okay, so with this photo, I have Tina here. We do a lot of work together. And whenever she has a new idea, she phones me and she says, okay, we're going to try and experiment.
Nice.
So this was an experimental one we kind of ended up using for a photo shoot that we did for a studio. So here we've got 2 color gels from the back, and then we've got a smoke machine.
Mm-hmm.
And this was quite funny because we were trying to experiment how to do this shoot with the smoke, but it was only video. So I literally had to go haze the smoke behind, run back to the front, try and capture it while the smoke is quite a think of the behind the scenes, me running up and down into the smoke machine.
Imagine it.
Yeah, so we absolutely love the results. I think the smoke, yeah, it really highlights and separates the backdrop from the dancer. And yeah, I'm using, like I said, 2 lights from the with actually the big box. So we've just got the open reflectors on, and then I've got a softbox octobox on the front. So yeah, that's
Now, I
what
was
I can
going to
say
ask
about this
about.
image.
I was going to ask a question about the smoke machines, because often that is a person with a vape, just blowing vape bombs in the background. I know my sister loves doing that.
Sure,
So when
yeah.
it comes to the smoke machine, it's an actual person with a vape in the background somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's far more convenient just having a smoke machine instead. Yeah, so I absolutely adored this photo in terms of the color combinations and the complementary
you.
oranges and blues as well. So
Yeah.
it must be quite tricky getting the shot, it's a perfect pose as well. Do you frame burst like 10 shots per second, or do you just perfectly try your best to time the shot?
So my dancers that pose for me hate me because I make them hold it for very long and I make them do their poses over and over and over again. So I don't shoot on burst. My lights don't recycle that quickly. But obviously I try and get as many shots as I can at that moment. But yeah, they kind of do the pose. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but in pole fitness, you get your pole can also spin sometimes. Like you don't have to put it on static, so it doesn't have to be still. You can put it on turning. So sometimes if there's another person, we get them to help, like if it's on spinning, to turn them. But sometimes if it's just me and Tina, like with this one, she just has to do it over and over again until I'm happy with the shot.
Yeah, she charge gym fees along with her shoots as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's my
Right.
favorite color combo is like the orange and the teal.
Same.
I love that combo. Yeah.
In terms of the backdrop, you just broke up earlier. I didn't catch what type of backdrop you use. Is it PVC or paper?
It's paper. So this one is a Colorama. It's just the gray. So I love using gray because of the versatility. I do also have black and white, but I always find, well, with the color gels, you can make it look interesting. But gray is just, very versatile. So, this is just a standard gray Colorama. Like I said, 2 meters, because I obviously need quite a wide backdrop for the dance shots. That's why I've got this big backdrop. Yeah.
Now, certain Andrew in the comment sections will be very happy about that. He recently wrote an article for us, also illustrating the versatility of a gray backdrop. So you can just change the brightness of it. So if you want it brighter or darker, just illuminate the backdrop itself, or aim your lights carefully just to make it darker. But as you're doing here, if you want to add a splash of color, just use the color filters as well. Speaking of which, speaking of the devil, do you shoot the 780 in live view for better focus, or do you stick using the optical viewfinder for your indoor shooting?
So for indoor shooting, so I do sometimes use the live view, not as much, but I do also do event photography. So when I'm doing event things and you do need to have like the silent shutter, I do use the live view, but not like when I'm shooting this, I shoot through the viewfinder. I just find it a bit more natural just having that viewfinder there, instead of holding it here. So yeah, I would say 90% of the time the viewfinder, unless I'm shooting like an event and you need the silent live view, they call it, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Now, the reason why I don't use the live view is because the model tends to look at me, not the camera. So if I'm holding the camera here or down here, they look at me, the eyeballs up here, and so they look past the camera itself. So
That's true. I
having
didn't
the
actually
camera
think
up to the
about that.
face, so having the camera up to the face, they look at you through the lens as well. So it just creates a bit of eye contact as well. I tried doing that with tethering as well. So I set the camera up on a little tripod and I stand to the side. I press spacebar to take the photo. And every time I say 3, 2, 1, the model looks at me instead of the camera. So I think it's just better to have the camera to your face.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I haven't had that issue before, but like these type of things, I think he asked specifically for the focus. I don't know. I find like the live view focus is a bit slower, specifically on the D780 now, than when I'm shooting through the viewfinder. So yeah, not specifically for focus. I don't use it specifically for focus, the live view finder.
All right, so with this photo, I wanted to ask you a question about the gels. How do you go about using the gels? So you mentioned just a normal reflector dish on a bare bulb. Have you tried using them in soft boxes as well with a bit of duct tape inside a soft box?
I do. So I do have those 2 strip boxes that I also
Mm-hmm.
use with a grid. Sometimes I find with the dance things when it's in the strip, because you need a lot of power when you put it
Mm-hmm.
inside the strip box with the grid on, because you obviously lose a lot of light. So sometimes it works. It depends what pose. Like with this one, I felt she needed quite like a lot of burst of color, and I wanted a bit of the color on the backdrop as well. So that's why with this one, I used the open reflector again. But yeah, I do also use it in the strip boxes when I just kind of want that rim lighting, because then the background tends to stay kind of more gray and dark, and you kind of just get the color on the model. So it depends what look I'm going for. But this one is specifically also bare open reflectors. Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned of strip boxes a couple of times. Do you want to explain to the audience what a strip box is? So I don't know if you have one in your room there or not, but
Oh no,
try
I
to
don't have one
describe.
close by. But it's just so it's like imagine a thin soft box, if I can put it that way. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a strip box, so it's a long soft box. So it's very good. It works amazingly for rim lighting, because now if you're pointing, so if you've got your soft box, you're getting light spill a bit on the sides. But if you've got a strip box, you can kind of define a little piece of whatever you're trying to light. So I just enjoy using that because I don't know if I have a good example here. We might have one in the photos coming, but yeah, you just get that nice highlight. But it's just a thin, long softbox.
Now, it just helps to prevent light
Yeah.
spillage, as you say, going forwards and backwards. It's a bit more of a long, skinny softbox, aiming the light exactly where you want it to go. So
Yeah.
you don't want light where you don't necessarily want it, of course. So the strip box just helps to direct the light precisely where you want to.
Oof, I think
All
I've
right, do you
got a
want to?
flat battery here. Sorry, just hold on quickly. Let me see if this
Oh,
one
no
works.
worries.
Technical difficulties. Just see. Hello.
Hello, can I still hear you?
If I talk through here, does it work? Do I need to talk
Yes.
through the earphone? Oh, okay, then I can just talk through it doesn't like make a, what do you call it, like an echo.
No, not at all. No, I haven't
Okay, no,
noticed
then I'll
any
just talk
changes, to
through.
be honest with you.
I'll
Yeah,
just
it still
talk
sounds
through the
very good.
laptop. Okay.
Okay, yeah, let's just do that. Do you want to talk about this image? So obviously spoken about the 2 rim lights.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so
I also
again,
have a,
okay, yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
I also have a bit of a funny story about this one. So what I often do is I host photo shoot days at a studio, so aerial studio, and then people will book their slot and we'll do like hoop, pole, any aerial stuff. So any case, so we had scheduled the shoot and all of the slots were very full. And on the day, in typical South African style, it got announced we're going to have like, I don't know what stage load shedding, but yeah, so I don't have
Mm-hmm.
power on my lights. I have to plug them in. So this girl, Shame, she's an amazing aerialist. Her name is Jenny. She had the slot just before load shedding was kicking in. So we were literally taking these shots like crazy, 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 crazy. And then this shot, like we had, I think, a minute before load shedding was going to kick in, and she was just trying to pose her best. So there's like a bit of a rush, actually, if I think about this photo, the history behind it, like of her just trying to get the pose right, the lighting. We didn't have time to even breathe, and then the lights, everything just went off, and then load
Mm-hmm.
shedding kicked in, and then we got this epic photo. So yeah, so she was actually moving quite quickly on the hoop, so she was spinning around. Because so that's the thing about, so like I said, like the pole you can spin around, the hoop is actually fixed to a thing that goes around, so it is a
Mm-hmm.
motion shot that we're getting. So yeah, and I don't know, it's the same colors that I used in the previous
Mm-hmm.
one because I love them so much. The teal and the orange gels. And yeah, I really like the angle of this photo because usually you would shoot this more straight on so that you see the pose from the front. But yeah, we really got a nice angle there, I think, on this pose. So yeah, that's what
All
I
right.
can say about that photo.
All right. So there's a couple of follow-ups. So you organize these photo days. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Do you have anything in the pipeline still? How often do you host them? And
Yes.
whereabouts can people find you? And also, can we
So
join? Can we help you out?
yeah, sure. So I'm actually having one this coming weekend, which is now too late to
Mhm.
book. But I've recently moved to Cape Town. I say recently because it's been 3 years now, so but still a bit recent. But yeah, I host annual shoots at different studios. So I usually advertise on my Instagram, Facebook, all of that, and then people book through the studio wherever I'm shooting. I'm hoping to come back to Joburg next year to do one there because I have a lot of my older dancers that want to redo some shoots. So yeah, but my Instagram is always updated. I must say I'm not the best with Facebook, but Instagram, yeah, all of the information is always there.
All right. Now, speaking of which, your Instagram handle has been dropped in the comment section, so people can follow.
Oh,
Please do follow our
thanks.
guest, everybody watching out there in Facebook and YouTube land, and also keep you updated in terms of Anna's photo days. So, what does Andrew have to say here? Hey, Cape Town around the corner from me. Might grab a camera stuff shirt and head over for one of those. Yeah, that would be much appreciated. Thank you, Andrew.
Sounds good.
Yep. So yeah, fantastic that you're also getting the community involved in this as well, organizing these photo days. Now I've spoken so much about this with my guests. You can't be your own island. Like you have to bounce off people. You have to teach people. You have to share the knowledge. You have to grow the industry. I think people tend to hold on to what they know and what they have a little bit too much, but you don't grow as quickly if you do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you
exactly.
do share the load and share the spoils as well, not only is that a good thing to do, I suppose, but you learn a lot from the process as well, bouncing your ideas from other people's ideas, etc. Yeah, so it's fantastic that you're doing this. Well done.
Yeah. No, it's fun.
All right. So, question I have is, how do you go about number one, conceptualizing a photo shoot? So, how do you take the idea that's in here and put it on a photo? And second question is, how do you make sure that everybody who's collaborating with you on a day, how do you make sure that everybody's on the same page?
Okay, so most of these examples that we're seeing here now are from those photo shoot days when people book the shoot with me. So, like for example, the one with Tina, the one with the smoke, that was a concept that we thought of, and we were like, let's try it out. So with that type of stuff, I kind of just book out the day with her, and we go and we see, okay, what outfits does she have, and what colors would work with which colors. So we do kind of, I must say, I'm not the best at prepping ahead of time. I'll get some examples, but I kind of, when we're there, I kind of figure out, okay, these colors are going to work with this
Mm,
outfit. This is when we're just playing around. When I have shoot days and people come in, I ask for their outfits, what colors are they going to wear. Then we usually decide on the colors. And yeah, the poses as well. So that's what I was going to say. I've got a pole fitness background. I don't do pole fitness anymore, but I think that helps so much with photographing aerial stuff because I
mm,
understand the angles and what works. So yeah, so I kind of work with the person when they're usually very nervous when they come for their photo shoot. And then so the first few shots we just get into, okay, you're going to be in a photo shoot now. And then once they relax, we just play around with the angles, the colors. The main thing for me is I try and make it fun so that those nerves die off, that the nerves that
mm.
they have when they come in dies off. And then, yeah, we just take it like relaxed from there. So if I have a specific concept, we work on that. I do a bit of prep, but otherwise it's mostly just getting a feel for the shoot. Yeah.
Mm. That makes sense. Being intuitive on the day and see what works. Planning ahead doesn't always work out because anything on a day can happen, especially if it's a new location, a new model, new wardrobe, new stylist, new makeup artist, etc. So having that experience to back you and obviously that intuitive nature, knowing how to combine certain things, what makes sense to combine. Yeah, that's not an overnight thing, obviously, but yeah, things
Hmm.
just generally start gelling together the more you shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So I had a question. It escaped my mind now. Oh yeah. So in
Or did you
just
ask
a
me a
topic.
second question? I don't know if I answered the second question. Or
I
was
think
it
you
part
did.
of that one? Okay.
Well, in any case, well, here's the other question. So you mentioned nervous people, obviously. So here's a two-parter. How do you tackle your own nerves if they are still there? And secondly, how do you tackle the nerves of your clients? So you mentioned creating a fun environment, etc. Like, do you have certain go-to strategies, putting everybody at ease? So that's question number one. And how do you go about tackling your own nerves?
So I think it's quite important to tackle your own nerves before a shoot so that when you get to the shoot, you don't show signs of nervousness. I know
Mm,
that sounds a bit, but yeah, you want to come across confident and you know what you're doing. So I try and tackle my own nerves first, which is just, I mean, I literally just use something as simple as breathing just to calm myself
mm,
down, just catch a few breaths and just make yourself feel like you know what you're doing, because sometimes you can get imposter syndrome and you're a bit like, okay,
mm,
even though you've done a shoot so many times, you do still get nervous. So then, yeah, I just try and calm myself down, talk to myself and say, you know what you're doing, it's going to be fine. So when I walk in not nervous, I think that already helps the whole
mm-hmm,
vibe of the shoot. And then, yeah, when girls come in and they get nervous, so that's the difficult thing, because with aerial arts, you obviously you need, yeah, if you're nervous and you're thinking about other things, you're not going to think about holding onto the hoop or the pole or the silks,
mm,
so yeah, then you get flustered. So yeah, if someone comes in and they're very flustered, I just try and calm them down and say, you know what, you're here for the photo shoot to celebrate how far you've come. Just relax. And then also, if everything doesn't go as they planned, because sometimes they come with a list like this of things they would like to do,
mm-hmm,
and the first or the second move doesn't work out, and then they're like, ugh, you know what, this whole shoot is not going to work. I just say, hey, just relax. We don't have to follow a list. Just get through what you want to do. Let's just take it easy and relax. So yeah, I just talk to them, try and calm them down. I often show them the photos as well to show them like, hey, look how nice this is looking. You look stunning and wada. So yeah, I think that's how I calm them down.
very interesting point. Calming yourself down prior to a photo shoot, because definitely, if you're showing the nerves on the day, it's going to project onto everyone else around you.
Exactly.
There's also in terms of creating energy on a day as well. People tend to what's the word? Mimic the photographer. And so if you're in there with good vibes and obviously taking charge and directing very well, you mentioned great communication as well. Like you don't want a model to create their own idea of what is happening. As you
Hmm.
said, if one thing doesn't work out, oops, nothing's going to work out now. So I just need to create that open communication and establish everything, that everything is still working out. This is how things are working.
Exactly.
And also something I like to do is I'll just talk about anything. Even if I'm just adjusting the lights, I will explain to them what I'm doing, just to make sure that they don't think that they are the problem. So
Yeah, exactly.
there's always this open communication. All right. So do
Yeah,
you want
and
to talk
then
about? Okay, go ahead.
now I was gonna say music is also a big one. I find
Mm,
nice music makes everyone calm down as well. So yeah, that's quite an important one, especially with the dance photography. Like we all love music, so just put a good song on.
mm, absolutely. And also involving the models as well, showing them the pictures, and yeah, people like to get involved as well to
Yeah,
create a bit of a dialogue. Now if you keep to yourself and don't share what is happening on a day. Again, people's minds may go to some negative space, and you don't necessarily want that on a day.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, so tell us about this photo. So when it comes to photos like this, I always ask who was the silk flipper here.
So this girl, it's terrible of me now to not remember her name because this photo is quite old, and this was still when I was living in Pretoria sites. I can't remember her name, which is terrible.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's one of the few silks, because I don't get to do silks as often. We don't have, so we have a lot of people in this country who do silks, but I mean, not a lot of them come for photo shoots because it's quite a setup. Like you need space to have like the big silks there. So yeah, we've got some really cool shots on this day, and I just loved this one because it's so simplistic what she's doing. You know, she's actually just sitting in the silk. She's not even doing something difficult. So this is a good example. That's another thing with the dancers. Like sometimes I think they have to do these difficult things so that they look amazing. But this is a good example of you can actually just do a simple pose and it can still come out really cool. So yeah, this is just my general. So this is the lighting that I started with before I started adding gels, and it always works. It's always my go-to as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just two. I was using soft boxes here, not strip light. So two soft boxes, more not from behind but on the side, and then a soft box, an octa box from the front. So yeah, this is my standard like gray back lighting that I do. And it also works sometimes. Like sometimes it's better if you've got a dramatic element like the silks there and the color of the silks to not involve colored gels and make it complicated. That makes sense. Yeah.
Have you found that using gels made you better at quote unquote white light photography, generally speaking? So obviously, when using gels, you can see exactly where the blues are going, where the oranges are going, etc. So
Exactly.
has that made you better in terms of just photography in general? How to balance out the
I think
lighting, how to create the specific lighting ratios, etc.
I think so. I really struggled with gels when I started with them. It was difficult, like you said, because you see them and then sometimes they're not where you want them, and then you also have to learn like color combinations, color
Mm.
theory. So definitely I think it did help me actually like look at the light, because I think when you start photography and especially studio photography, you just kind of like put lights up and just hope you're going
Yes,
to get a
yes.
nice result. Yeah,
Mm.
you don't realize you have to actually look at the lighting and read the lighting. So yeah, I do think it did help. And yeah, like I said, using color gels was also a journey. When I first used them, I used all of the wrong colors together. It didn't look nice. So it took me a while to learn that as well. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm
I
still
remember when
learning. I'm not like I'm done with
no,
learning, but yeah.
of course. I remember starting out, I had 3 or 4 speed lights from the 19 foot days, probably from World War II still, used them in studio, but 4 of them and using them all at once. Um, and the images didn't look the way I wanted them to look, but I didn't know where the mistake came from. So that was just a rookie mistake on my behalf. I'm switching on all of the lights and hoping magic would just happen.
Something's
Obviously,
just
now
gonna
I
happen.
know,
Yeah.
yes, switching on the lights one by one and seeing which light is interfering with what. But obviously, just to add on to our point here, using gels, you can see what the orange light is doing, you can see what the blue light is doing, you can see what the pink light is doing. And that just makes you just better at balancing out just lighting in general, setting up your ratios, key light versus fill light, and your backdrop lights, etc. So you can see where the quote unquote mistake is coming from. Like if you're adding too much backdrop light, you can see
Exactly.
that's just way too much orange in the background, as an example. So yeah, so it's often something I tell people just to try color filters. Even if that's not your area that you want to do, but it's just a great way of learning light.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree 100%. Yeah.
All right, so I want to ask about AI. I don't know if you have integrated that into your work recently. So kind of extending the backdrop or adding a bit of extra silk here
Mhm.
and there and cleaning up the backdrop or just adding in new elements. So I don't know if you are there or thereabouts, if you are keen on joining the AI train, or are you still trying to go about it old school? What can be
No, for
modified
sure.
as old school is just
Yeah.
normal Photoshop.
Yeah. No, for sure. The generative fill is very helpful. I can't
Hmm.
believe, like, yeah, what did we do before we had generative fill? It's
Hmm.
amazing for extending backdrops, especially when you have things like that, like silks or whatever that you need to extend and it for it to look natural. So yeah, I'm definitely making use of it. Still learning as well.
Mm.
Because obviously it's like every day I open Photoshop, I see a new update in the beta version. So obviously it's moving very quickly, but the generative fill is a biggie. That was yeah, I definitely use it. I don't know if there's any other, I'm trying to think any other AI things there, but that one I've definitely used a lot. Yeah.
Now, speaking of which, I did write an article today. So if you're keen to learn how to extend your backdrops, in a manner of speaking, do check out the link I just dropped in the comment section. So it's just a fancy way of extending the backdrop. So if you want more length or width out of your image, you can just increase the size of your photo, do a selection, inverse, and just press a button a couple of times, and it just does the magic from there. Sometimes it messes up. Sometimes it will add,
Yeah.
I don't know, a baby for some reason, or a pot plant. I
Yeah.
don't know why that happens,
Yeah,
but
I've seen
it's
some
just
strange
have to give
things
it a few
too.
chance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but it's very useful. I must say it makes your job much quicker. I can't even believe I used to do what I used to do to extend the backdrop. Now you can just do it with that press of a button. So yeah, definitely helps.
Absolutely. All right. So you made mention of the optical snoot a little bit earlier. So I assume this is what you used here?
Yes. Yes. So this is Naila. She's a dancer here in Cape Town. And yeah, this was the first time. So I did one test shoot with an optical snoot. And then we basically did this shoot, which was a lot of people. I think we had 10 people that day. And yeah, I have a few different, what do you call it? Like the filters of the optical spot that's got the different shapes.
Mhm.
But I feel like this one works really nice with the dancing, like the
Yes.
long, the square, what rectangle. Yeah, so I used it here, and I do also really enjoy the hard lighting. That's been a fun
Oh,
thing with the
yes.
optical snoot, is like playing around with hard lighting, because I'm usually using soft boxes or the large umbrella. So yeah, it's something nice and different to play around with, and I think it complements the dancing.
Yeah. So three questions I quickly line up here. So number one, just on the topic of hard light versus soft light, I do think often we get bored of soft lighting using the
Yeah.
octoboxes, and just using the hard light all of a sudden just creates something different, a different type of magic. So on the day, how do you decide between soft light and hard light? Like, what do you look out for? What specifically do you want to create with each? Because just at face value here, with a hard light, it creates a very well-defined shadow, and it just adds another character into the image as well. So
Hmm.
I don't know if you have any other reasons for hard light versus soft light.
So I think it depends what the theme is for the shoot. So
Mm.
like this, because this was an optical spot like shoot, we just went with the hard one, the hard lights. But the soft lighting, it's usually my go-to, I must say. But like I said, I recently enjoy using this. So it depends what the theme is. Like if we're working on colored gels or we're working on the smoke machine, well, actually thinking about it, maybe smoke and optical spot could look interesting. Maybe it's
I think so.
something
Yes.
something interesting, but yeah, it just depends what the theme is. But I don't
Mm.
prefer one over the other. I think they have
Yes.
their place. Like this one, it works well here. And I think in the past, I always thought the soft lighting is flattering for the dancers. But I mean, yeah, the hard lighting looks just as great. And the shadow is also something fun to play around with. So yeah, we don't decide on the day. I do stick to a lighting, but it's the theme of the shoot. So if
Mm.
we're doing this, then it's going to be the hard lighting. So that is decided beforehand. Yeah. So I don't
Mm.
mix it. I
Okay,
think it would
makes
get
sense.
complicated to try and mix, get like do soft light and then hard light. Kind of once you're set up, you want to concentrate on getting
Mm.
the dancer poses. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So on topic there, poses. Obviously, working with dancers, we kind of know what to do, but I see in all of your images something I always recommend to people is the tippy toes. This is the pointed feet. So as
Yeah.
I said, having the dancers, they know how to do that automatically, but it's always just great advice to people out there working with models. It's the tippy toes. It just creates a nice extension, and yeah, it just creates better lines as well. So tippy toe
Hmm.
is very important. So in terms of posing, like, do you have any tips out there for people? So if you're working with a non-dancer, there's a person standing there. How would you approach posing that person?
It's a good question because I'm mostly working with dancers when I'm in studio. So I normally like obviously an angle, so anything straight on can be a bit boring. It depends what vibe you're going for, but yeah, side on, soft hands, tippy
Mm.
toes, like you say. Another very important thing, sorry, now that I'm thinking about the feet that people forget about, is just remember to always clean your feet if you're going to be posing barefoot, because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we get that dirty foot, and that's not a fun thing to try and edit out. But yeah, I think I don't work with models often. I work with the dancers. So I kind of think they are very aware of their bodies already. I just try and tell them once they're in the pose, that extension would look nicer from this angle. So, yeah, I don't
Mm,
have much to say like in terms of normal models. But anything that a side on angle looks nice and soft hands and
mm.
yeah.
I just think ID photo and do the opposite of that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Jay. I see Jay has been dropping a few comments here. Let me just quickly go through here. Hello, Jay. Thank you for joining. I second you that I always tell my clients we don't need to try hard things and just let things happen organically. Yeah. So kind of on topic here with reposing and putting people at ease. Just don't try and overthink it. Just take one step at a time. Things tend to happen as they should. The puzzle pieces do tend to
Yeah.
fit together. Yeah. So that's good advice. Don't try and force things immediately.
Yeah.
Just start shooting and allow things to flow on a day.
And if something does go wrong, just stop for a moment, take a breath, just recoup, and then just carry
Hmm.
on. Because don't get flustered. Because if you get flustered, then yeah. So I say just
Yeah.
stop, take a breath, analyze the situation, and then carry on. Yeah.
Something I personally do is I just fiddle with lights, even if there's nothing wrong with the lights. If I'm just feeling a little bit flustered or under stress, I will just go to the backdrop light and pretend to push a few buttons just to give myself a couple of seconds to
Moment.
recuperate. Or
Mm.
I say wardrobe change, and I just quickly, gather to myself. So it's always something to do when you're feeling a little bit flustered. But
Yeah.
even then, it's just a case of allowing things to happen on a day. Like that second nature will kick in. This is where experience helps as well. So if you're starting out, don't beat yourself up. Obviously, over time, all of the puzzle pieces will fall into place, and as I said, second nature will take over.
Sure.
All right, and incorporating opticals into most of my shoots, love it.
Hmm. It's very
All right.
fun. I must say it's a fun piece of equipment.
And mixing hard light and soft light might work great for these types of shoots. As an example, soft light on the face area and hard light from the side, just to create a lovely hard edge
Hmm.
while still having the soft skin tones.
Yeah.
Now, there's a popular technique to combine the hard light and the soft light, especially the soft light up front and the hard light as a couple of rim lights. And maybe
Hmm.
vice versa as well. I think, as you said, it just depends on what you want to create on the day, what works on the model as well. Sometimes following these recipes can bring about disaster because what works on one person may not work for the next person.
Yeah. No, for sure.
All right. Okay, so last photo. Let's have a discussion about this one.
Yeah. So this is a special photo because this is the lady who got me into pole fitness photography. So
Mhm.
she was an instructor here in South Africa. She's actually a British lady. And yeah, she got me to do my first photo shoot. And her husband was actually well, I'm saying was because they don't live in the country anymore. But
Mhm.
yeah, he did body painting. So one day she said to me, "Do you want to do an experiment with the body painting?" And I said, "Sure." And yeah, I walked in there that day and he had done this amazing body paint. And yeah, we did this shoot. And once again, she's a very advanced pole athlete and she's doing a very simplistic pose here. So the concentration is just on
Mm.
the body, more the body paint and the feel of the photo than the actual pose. So yeah, I don't know. This is a very long time ago, so I'm trying to think what I used, but I do think I did use two soft
Mm.
boxes from the sides and just also an octobox from the front, I think, if I remember correctly.
All right, perfect. That seems to be the two soft boxes from the side. It's a very, very popular technique, and it works fantastically well with what you're doing here. So telltale signs, I can see the rim lights on the pole itself. So that normally tells me
Hmm.
where the light is coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you mentioned that allowing things on a day just to flourish, but in terms of, I'm looking at the body paint here. So working with other people, collaborating. So I just want to ask again, how do you make sure that everybody's just on the same page? Do you normally have like a mood board or a Pinterest board or a WhatsApp group? Like how strict are you with how things need to happen on a day beforehand?
Yeah, so we will have a plan. It's not like I walk in there and there is no plan. So usually I'm just on Instagram following like, so if we want to do a body paint one, checking out body paint hashtags just to get an idea. I haven't used Pinterest in a while, but that is a good thing to use. Yeah, so I just get example images and then it depends so like this body paint one, their part of the shoot was to do the body paint. So that day they actually decided what they wanted to do. So I let the dancers collaborate. Like I don't walk in there and say, it's just my idea and we're going to also say what would
Yes.
you like to try out. So we do collaborate. Yeah, but I just get example images. I kind of get an idea of the lighting that I want to use beforehand. But on the day, if we're doing a shoot like this, that's just a fun shoot, I will play around with lighting as well, change it up because we'll get like the shot that we like and then I'll play around afterwards. So yeah, we do take it easy, but there is some prep work involved before just to get examples. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fascinating point. Getting the shot that you want. So, kind of the picture that you had in your brain before the shoot, making sure you get that and then playing around it. So, that's
Yeah.
normally how I put my mind at ease. I have 5 images that I want to take on a day. So, come what may, I will capture those 5 images and typically play around them as well. Now, what normally happens, I don't even use those 5 images that I planned because they end up being a little bit too boring.
Exactly.
But it's just to put my mind at ease on the day itself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I go to bed without a plan, I stay up all night.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I would love to do
Right.
another body paint shoot. It's just shame. It takes really long. Like I think it takes 5 hours for them to do that
Mm,
body paint. And then the shoot is so quick. It's like half an hour because then the body paint starts coming off. So it's
yes.
quite a process. Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for deep diving into your images there, giving us a bit of insight as to what goes
Yeah,
on
thank
behind the
you.
scenes and the lighting that you use, etc. Very, very fascinating. Very, very insightful. Thank you so much. So,
Thanks.
opportunity to all of those in Facebook land and YouTube land. If you have any questions to ask, now is your time because I have only 2 more questions to ask. So, if you want to deep dive into Anna's work still, into her mind, now's your opportunity. Get those fingers tapping. All right. So, couple of questions I always end up with. So, being a seasoned photographer, what advice would you give? What would you bestow upon new photographers out there?
I would say practice makes perfect. I feel like you do have to practice, practice, practice. That's the thing about photography. Like you also said when you first got your studio lights and you just did all three at the same time.
Mm,
Like you really do have to play around often. So yeah, I would say do that, and also don't be afraid to try out new techniques. I felt like I stuck to my recipe for a very long time because I was like, okay, this works. So I also got nervous and then I was like, well, let me just revert back to what I know and what works. And then these days, since I started using the gels and the optical snoot, it's really fun to play around because then you get inspired to try out more interesting things. So yeah, I would say play around. Don't be afraid to try out different techniques.
mm. Yeah, so even if it's just taking photos of some random objects. So I used to take photos of a rugby ball. That was my model, just a rugby ball in the studio. Eventually got the mannequin head on a light stand. It looked
Mhm.
like a scene from Game of Thrones with a head on a pike, etc. But it's incredibly helpful just to practice beforehand and allow second nature to take over on a day. I remember doing a photo shoot with a wedding photographer here, so him being my subject on the day. I promised myself not to be technical in the day because I think sometimes I can be a little bit too technical orientated. So just to allow his personality to flourish on the day and just to have a conversation with him and hopefully to capture his personality. And I realized soon enough that the technical stuff was taking over. I was doing it by second nature. So I think that's just a good position to be in. But as you said, it comes from practice, practicing over and over and over again, and also not being
Yeah.
afraid of doing new things as well. Because on a day, to get rid of the nerves, to allow things to happen intuitively, that only stemmed from practice and clever practice as well. Being aware of your mistakes, talking to people as well, because sometimes we're not aware of the mistakes that we're making. So it just helps to talk to people as well.
Yeah.
All right. So comments here from Lochis. Thanks, Anna. This was very informative.
Thanks,
Thank you, Lochis.
Lottie.
Comments. And Jay, also thank you for the great insight. I love your work. Definitely following you.
Thanks, Jay.
All right. So, last question from my side. What do you have planned in the pipeline? So, what is happening in the world of Anna Smith photography in the next year or so? And are you thinking as far ahead as, let's say, 5 or 10 years?
Sure, I don't know about the 5 to 10 years, but I must say one thing that has happened recently that I'm very excited about is I was published in my first magazine this month, actually. So it's not a local magazine, which is a pity because it's not available locally. But yeah, it's a pole and aerial magazine in the UK, and I'm on the cover and actually did a
Well
whole
done.
article inside. I'm quite happy about that. That's quite a milestone for me. I'm like, yes, okay, I finally got some work published. And then besides that, I would just like to do maybe some more genres of dance. So I've recently started doing some burlesque shoots as well. Yeah, so I just want to expand my dance industry a bit. But I do love the
Mhm.
niche and the community that I'm a part of. Pole and aerial is very near and dear to my heart. But yeah, I would love to just expand my dance photography. So yeah, I think that's the plan. I don't know about 5 to 10 years. I guess we'll have to see.
Hmm.
It's a
A
bit
bit too
far.
far ahead.
Yeah.
Technology is reshaping a lot of things. So I don't know if we're going to have photography in 5 to 10 years' time, but we'll see.
Don't say that. No, we'll be
All right.
fine.
So thank you, Anna, so much for this interview. It was very insightful, incredibly talented, technical, obviously passionate as well, integrating your love for dance into your work as well, creating a perfect marriage between the two. It's always great and fascinating hearing these stories about how people just find their meaning and purpose in life and how photography plays a bigger role in that as well. So thank you for all of this insight and this very fascinating interview. From our side, we hope you go from strength to strength. So everybody watching out there, if you're in Cape Town, do check out the photo days that Anna is hosting every now and then. Do follow her on Instagram as well. The link is provided in the comment section. So Anna, from your side, I don't know if you have any shout outs, people that you want to thank.
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks to you guys for having me. I really
Of
appreciate it. And it's great
course.
to have the pole industry and aerial industry on a platform like this. I mean, I don't think we often do get to talk about it. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know if the mama is watching who bought the first camera. Thanks, mom, for watching and everyone else. And yeah, thanks to you guys for doing such a great job with exposing photographers and local photographers and all the information that you put on your site. Yeah,
Well,
that's
thank you
it.
so much. Yeah,
And
and
thanks for
thank you
everyone
again.
who watched. Yeah.
All right. So I think that's going to be it from our side. Don't see any further questions in the comment section. So I think, yeah, we're going to call it a nice hour in. As I told you right at the
Yeah,
beginning, an hour
long.
is just going to fly by. All right. So thank you
Yeah.
again, Anna. Thank you for everybody watching out there. We'll catch you next time. Talking to a couple of people, just check out our Facebook and our Instagram and our TikTok and our YouTube as to who we're interviewing next. Announcements will be made very, very soon. All right, so thank you so much, everybody. Cheers, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.